Welcome to episode 4 of the Eshlemania TV vlogcast. And I know I say this every time. We're going to try to do better this time. And it's been a little bit because we've just been extremely busy. And I can't believe that I'm still saying that we're still this busy. And it blows my mind how every month it just gets busier and busier and more stuff has popped up and loaded onto the schedule, and I am not complaining one bit because that's what pays the bills. That's that's the way we'd like to have it, rather than sitting around, um, bored out of our minds, twiddling our thumbs, and trying to figure out what we're going to do to pass the time. So I'm all good with it. It's a lot to keep up with. We got a lot going on at home, around the businesses that we own, and at our day jobs too, and regular family life and all that stuff. So yeah, it went from from the winter season right into spring, and then we had all the rain and just so much stuff going on. It's been hard to keep up with the normal springtime stuff like cleaning up the lawn and flower beds and getting the crops in the garden, and getting other plants started. We gotta get taken care of. We're slowly getting there. A lot of work keeping us out on the road, and a lot of stuff keeping us moving in so many different directions. It's it's coming along. Again, I'm not going to complain because we're enjoying it the best we can. So uh, yeah, we got all that going on, and I had a whole bunch of stuff here recently that we got to do and experience and try out. One of them was the Ego Z6 zero turn. Got to play around with one of them for a bit. Got to install a bagger on one, see what's all involved with that. Go out and mow a little bit with one. Play around with that, and that was kind of cool. And we'll give some more information on that down the road. But they're out there and they're available, and they're apparently in high demand. People are looking for them at their local Lowe's stores, at their local Ace Hardware stores, and their local Ego dealers. And really, what it comes down to, if the place you're going to buy or try to buy one of those zero turns from, if they're one of those, well, we'll wait and see, and we'll just wait and order it in as somebody asks for it, probably not going to get it. It's just the way it is. There was such a demand for those zero turns that it's hard to find them now. So they are out there. The places that did order them ahead of time, most of them went pretty heavy on them. I know that there was a dealer not too far from us that, from what I understand, they ordered like 100 of them. Uh, we have another dealer here nearby that they took 30 of them. So yeah, they're moving, they're selling, they're out there. If you want to find one, you go on the Ego website and just start checking around all the places around you that sell Ego products, and just keep calling around, see what you can do to get a hold of one if you're really in the market for one. And really, I mean, how can you go wrong? Because with everything you get in that package, it's the 42-inch zero turn. It's the 4 10 amp hour batteries. Comes with a 1600-watt charger you plug right into the side of the mower, so you can leave the batteries right in there and charge it up. And all of that entire package deal is covered for 5 years. So, in 5 years, I'm pretty sure you're going to break even compared to buying a gas powered zero turn of the same size. And you're probably going to come out with money to spare, the way parts and everything keep going up for those gas powered units. The Ego one has no belts or anything like that. And your maintenance is down to really just sharpening the blades. And you say, well, what about when a motor goes out on the mower deck, or a dry motor goes out? 5-year warranty. If it goes out in that time, they're going to replace it for free. So again, what are you losing? Good luck finding that kind of a warranty on a gas-powered residential zero turn, because it's just not going to happen. So yeah, we got to play around with that a little bit. Um, the Greenworks robotic lawnmower. Got to continue playing around with one of them. They had sent me one last fall because one of the guys who is a project or product manager for the Greenworks robotic division is a friend of mine who worked for another company who has a big lineup of robotic lawnmowers, and he was actually a product trainer for that company, and then he moved into the robotics division there at Greenworks, and so He sent me one to play around with there last fall. It was a prototype, and now they have the production models out there. So he stopped in one time he was in town. We swapped it out. He took back the old prototype, and I got one of the production models now. And we've been running that around here and just learning it and learning some of the features on it, and kind of doing some comparisons between it and another brand, and maybe another brand besides that we won't get into. But uh, yeah, that's definitely something that they they had the right train of thought when they were putting these things together. And there's a whole backstory with that Greenworks unit that I am not going to talk about right now. But if you ever get out around a dealer that knows anything that has gone on with Greenworks, and the whole concept of them coming out with a robotic lawnmower, very interesting, very interesting. And when you look at that Greenworks OptiMow is what they call it. When you look at the OptiMow, you're going to see a lot of features and a lot of parts that look very familiar to models from another company, and there's a good reason for that. So maybe on down the road we'll talk about that. I don't want to let that one out right now for just because I don't know how much of that should be made public right now. There's a lot of people that know about it that are in the industry, but um, you know, you go saying too much, and that's where rumors get started and it gets blown out of proportion. And it's all over the internet and blah 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 blah. You know how that goes. So. But anyway, it's a good conversation if you want to get into it with anybody who sells the Greenworks OptiMow. Just start asking them about that, and they'll probably be able to tell you a lot of interesting stuff that you might not have known. Then after that, we just got into a project here at home where we're putting in some solar panels. And I don't mean like we have an outside company coming in and, they're doing all this, mounting up these big posts out in the yard, and we're doing like, 7,000 watts or something like solar power. A lot simpler than that. Just wanted some power for a couple outbuildings, and we didn't want to have to run wire through the ground or anything to get out there, because we're still in the midst of changing around a lot of the landscape here, and redoing parts of the property. Trying to get the water to run different directions and things of that nature, and just different kinds of construction going on. So there's nothing that would be permanent at the moment yet. So to go and put any kind of electrical wire going from the house to any of these outbuildings would be kind of pointless at the moment, because there's a good chance it would get ruined or be coming back up in no time, because we just tear up the ground so much to do all this work we're doing. So solar was an option that we looked into, and we just pieced together our own stuff from a lot of stuff from Amazon, a lot of stuff from some of the other websites out there. You can get a lot of these kits to do this stuff, and uh, we weren't doing anything real elaborate. Mainly we needed some lights and a couple of little low voltage options here and there, like for if we wanted to recharge a phone or some other kind of device, or we have like I said, we have lights in the one building now, uh, all powered by solar. Trying to think here what else there was. There were some other things that we wanted. Oh, we were going to tap into that then and use that for some outdoor lighting too. Some real low voltage stuff just here and there. And it all depends. Depends on how many panels we continue to put up and everything, as to what all we do with it. But we got two setups right now, and I think we're at a total of like maybe 600 watts between the two. Um, we got battery banks there on both of them, and we got more panels to put up yet. We're gonna go up to at least 400 on both of them. After 400, then we got to go and add another charge controller and all that stuff. So we'll see. I'd also like to get a small wind turbine put up, because here in the summertime we got tons of sun. It's there's an open part of the property where there's no trees, and the sun just beats down and just bakes everything. So the solar is good for that. But then in the wintertime, the days are a lot shorter, and we just wouldn't make out as good with solar. But then again, we wouldn't be asking as much of it because we wouldn't be doing as much outside. But at the same time, uh, when that sun isn't out there, we get lots of wind. Late, I shouldn't say late. Early in the fall through the beginning of spring, lots of wind. It's like a wind tunnel in one part of our yard. It just comes rolling up across the field and through our backyard and right through the neighbors. And it's a perfect spot to put up a wind turbine because that sucker's not even gonna have to rotate. It's not gonna have to spin, north, south, east, and west. It's gonna be able to be fastened in one position and just catch all the wind. It's that it's that consistent that it's coming in that direction and it's strong. So that's an option I'd like to look into for the winter time, and we'll see if we get around to it or not. We have a whole mess of other stuff we gotta get done before that, but it's something I'm definitely thinking about and would definitely like to do. I see a lot of these projects that people do, the off grid stuff and everything, and uh, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it if you're looking to do it because you can see what all these other people have already done, and that's a huge help. So that's something that I've really been looking at because you know I like to have a good idea of where I'm going to start out at, and you go into some of these forums or some of the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and you can find a lot of information, and it's very good stuff. It's very good resources for any of those projects you want to do like that. So we're gonna eventually, try to combine that, maybe a small little wind turbine out here and our couple solar panels just to do our little odds and ends, and that way we don't have to worry about all the extra wires being through the ground. And so we actually have an Automower running off of the solar power into one the one roof that we have out here in one of the outbuildings. Right now we got 300 watts of panels on that roof, and I still got some modifications to make to it, but we have the 300 watts of solar panels. We have 225 amp hours of battery there in that one, and I'm actually looking it up right now. I need to order a DC to DC converter to go from 12-volt DC up to 24-volt DC because we have that Automower out there, and I don't have to use the transformer that comes with the Automower. I'd like to just run it straight to the charging station, um, and eliminate that whole process of the using a power inverter and the transformer because that's going to take extra power to do. So, but right now it's working. We run it a couple hours a day. It's a little 315X, and it does the job. It's running around out there all day long. And the other part that we have the solar one of the things we want to add to it eventually is our all-wheel drive mower that we have for mowing down through the woods in that area there, because that's going to save us a lot of hassle too. Right now we don't actually have the best electrical setup out there for doing that, for running that mower, but we're making it work. So when we can plug it directly into the solar power right there, again, it's going to save a lot of mess of cords and just stuff that it's not really, it's not something that we want to have to deal with all the time. Like I said, it's working, but we got cords everywhere and we got stuff plugged in here and there. And we have to unplug stuff to do this, and it's a mess. But you know how it is when you first get into these places like this, and you're trying to get everything set up. You have to make do with what you got. But yeah, that'll be nice. We still have to do a lot of math on that all-wheel drive, the 435X, to be able to make it work with solar. I don't know how many of you actually follow along the stuff that's going on with the Automowers. They actually have a solar-powered charging station that it's available for dealers to order right now. I'm not sure how soon they would ship, but it's a it's a pretty nice setup. It's a 320 watt solar panel, and it's got this nice metal, cabinet like a utility box, and inside there it's got everything. It's basically plug and play. You're gonna have your battery in there. It comes with 100 amp hour lithium ion battery, and the inverter's in there to go. Or I'm sorry, yeah, it should be a DC to DC converter in there because they use that instead of the transformer. And they say you can run a 450X off of this in the right conditions for, I think it's like 3 days a week, maybe. I forget now what the actual spec was on that. And supposedly, if you're getting enough sun and you're, staying within the ranges that they recommend, you can add a second battery to it, a second 100 amp hour lithium ion battery, and you're supposed to be able to run two 450Xs off of this thing. In my area, I'm not going to be able to do that. I can tell you right now, it's just not going to work. Just from what I'm learning by using this 315 out here, it'd be a struggle. Um, but for us, what we want to do is we want to have it set up, where we can use that 435X off of the solar. And I think if we have enough power there coming in, it won't be a problem, especially if we're running it during the day when the sun's nice and bright. If we try to run it at night, it's not going to do it. Um, but one of the big differences between the 435X and the 450X, you can get away with that 450X because it runs a lot longer than an all-wheel drive. So it's coming into charge a lot less. That all-wheel drive is going to come into charge, every hour and a half or so. Where the 450X, you're going to get like 4 to 5 hours of runtime out of it before it comes into charge. So just going to be sucking more juice out of it with an all-wheel drive than you would with the 450X or a 430X. Um, so we're just gonna have to get ours scheduled just right and tweak it a little bit to make it work. But I think it's doable. I really do for our situation. We're not trying to cover an entire baseball field or anything like that. And the areas that we're gonna be mowing with that all-wheel drive don't really grow that fast. So if it falls behind for a day or two, it's not gonna be that noticeable. Now the 315 that we're using, that one's a little bit different. That one's mowing a fairly large, well, it's not so much a large area for its size, but it's a complex area for that mower. And it's doing a job so far. But that one there, again, we're trying to run it mostly during daytime hours just to keep an eye on it and keep an eye on the system. And we keep testing a little bit more and a little bit more and running a little bit later and just seeing what it's going to take and what it's going to do. Because on that one there, we're also using that system to uh, power some lights and some other stuff. So it's not just going right to that Automower. If it was like the Husqvarna charging station that they make, it would be a lot easier for that to manage. But because we're using the power for other things, there's only so much power being generated, being created there, and when you're splitting it up amongst multiple devices and pieces of equipment that you're using, then you really got to plan that out to make it actually work. So far so good. I'm not going to complain about that at all. The majority of that setup that we have our 315X running off of, majority of that all came from Amazon. You know, kind of figured out what we needed and what we wanted to do, and pieced it all together through Amazon. We bought some solar panels there. We bought some extra wire. The batteries, we actually got them for free. They were they were from uh, a mower, a battery powered mower from Ryobi that Ryobi said, yeah, we're not sure what's going on, so just replace all four batteries. They're 475 amp hour batteries. So, yeah, that was crazy. So we're using them in there. We got three of them in there now. We'll see. We'll probably add a fourth one. The fourth one we're gonna save for another project, but you know, why not at this point? Just add all four of them. Have 300 amp hours there on that bank. But yeah, we had that. We're using a Renogy Wanderer charge controller, 30 amp. That's a real simple one to hook up and use. It doesn't take anything fancy to be able to manage the solar power coming in and transport those batteries and monitor everything. So Renogy's a big name when it comes to the solar powered stuff. And then after that, it was just some breakers and fuses and some switch panels. And the majority of the stuff we're using, we've kept 12 volts, so it's just like working on a regular vehicle wiring system or a boat or your lawnmower. Nothing real fancy right now. That Automower is the only thing that's using an inverter and using 110 AC power. Everything else is 12 volt DC. We found some nice LED bulbs that look just like the ones you would use in in a house, a regular 110 light fixture, and you can actually use these in the same light fixture. You just can't hook the 110 power to them. So that was really cool. LED, and it's pretty low draw, so we can get a lot of light out there with them for quite a while without drawing the system down. And they're really bright, super bright for one bulb. So you wouldn't need a whole lot of them to light up a decent sized room or a shed. So that's a plus. And then I think we're gonna add some 12-volt low voltage lighting out through the yard here and there in some random places and connect that in. We got a nice switch panel with rocker switches on it off of Amazon. I got a ton of stuff on there, when it comes to that, for marine and for the Jeeps and all that kind of stuff. So we picked up a couple different ones to use in our different areas. Most of them have the toggle switches, and they'll have like USB ports and a 12-volt outlet. Some of them have like a little voltage gauge on there to let you know what the system's doing, and they come pre-wired. It's pretty chintzy wire on the back, so we've modified some of them. But yeah, anyway, at any rate, they work. No issues so far with any of that stuff. Can't complain at all about that. Again, we have lights in the one building. We have an Automower running off of that system, and the other one we at least have lights right now, and we're getting ready to add more stuff to that system. So far it's been working out, and yeah, it costs money to do that, and you might be saying, well, it'd be a lot cheaper to just buy some wire and run out through the ground. But again, we'd have the hassle of just having to work around that wire all the time, and it wasn't something we needed to worry about right now. This stuff here is all just self-contained now, and the other cool thing about it is, you know, one of the kids or somebody goes out there and they turn the light on and they leave it on all night, and it draws the system down or just stays on all night, and the next day, who cares? It's not costing us anything then. We've already paid for the panels and we're getting all this energy generated for free, so who cares if that light stays on? But speaking of our outdoor projects and all of our landscaping and stuff like that we got going on, one of the other things we got going on right now is we're slowly shopping around for a compact tractor. And I had no idea that to figure the price of a compact tractor, you look up the weight of it, and then you convert that to the price of gold, and they're literally asking for the equivalent price of that tractor if it was gold. At least it seems to be. Just astronomical prices, I think, on some of these compact tractors. And you say, oh, well, go out there and pick up a used one. It ain't much better. There's shortages of everything these days. The manufacturers don't have to give any kind of special promotions or deals because they know this stuff's going to sell because there's just not that much to go around. If they leave it sit there, eventually somebody's going to buy it because where else are they going to go to buy it? What else are they going to buy? So, yeah, it's probably a bad time to be shopping around for something like that. But it's coming to the point where we need something we can drive around in the yard yet without tearing it up too bad, but something that we can tear the yard up if we really want to. And you might have seen the videos that we had before where we're using Simplicity Landlord XL, and that does okay. Um, it's all right for small stuff, but um, boy, we need something a little bit bigger. We need something a little bit more reliable, and we basically need something from a manufacturer not named Briggs and Stratton, because ever since Briggs and Stratton bought Simplicity, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. I had high hopes for Simplicity when I went to work for a Simplicity dealer a few years back, and I thought, all right, these guys here, they just weren't very good at marketing or advertising or even knowing what they had. And I thought, we can really compete with John Deere, these Simplicity tractors. And then I got to, looking at them and using them and seeing all the issues that we would get more and more of every year. And I'm like, yeah, let's just forget about them. Can't we just get rid of them all and just stop bringing them in? It's gotten so bad, but um, the Legacy XL, the one that we have in our family here, is like a 2004 model, and that's right at the time that Briggs bought out Simplicity and took it over. And you can tell it's one of the better ones because it actually has an engine in it that's not a Briggs and Stratton engine. And if you're familiar with Simplicity, you know that any tractor you buy from them now, that's all you're going to get is a Briggs and Stratton engine. You have no other options for a tractor. So the one we have has the Kawasaki liquid cooled engine, so it's a nice one. Um, 4-wheel drive, has the differential lock, all that stuff. No rear PTO. We did add 3-point to it recently, so that's a plus. But it just doesn't have the power. Even with that Kawasaki in there, it just doesn't have it. So again, if you watch the videos where we're working on the 2284 Super Cubs, I picked them up. That was a hell of a deal. I couldn't resist. Picked up 2 of them, and I thought one of these I'm going to put a loader frame on. And I have a loader frame, not for one of them, but could easily be modified to put on one of them. But after running the Simplicity around and trying to use it, I'm like, what's the point? I just break one of these Super Cubs. It's just not going to do it. The Simplicity Legacy has the differential lock. It has 4-wheel drive. What else does it have? Trying to think. I mean, those are the 2 main things, the main advantages that the Super Cub doesn't have at all. The Super Cub has the individual brakes, but still, that's not going to be as good for you as a 4-wheel drive machine or something with a differential lock, even. Uh, so, kind of pointless to put the loader on one of them. I could use to haul some mulch across the yard or something like that, or uh, you know, some dirt that was already loose. But as far as digging in the ground, it's not going to happen. We got lots of rock, we got lots of stone, we got lots of tree roots around here, and who knows what else we might dig up. So it was just time that we start shopping around for something a little bit bigger to actually be able to do the job correctly without just using and abusing the pieces of equipment that we have sitting around here already. So got it narrowed down to pretty much Kubota or Mahindra. John Deere is still there in the running if the right deal was there to be had. But uh, part that really sucks about all of it is where we live out in the middle of nowhere. There's not really a John Deere dealer all that close. There's not really a Mahindra dealer all that close, and there's not really a Kubota dealer all that close. There's actually nothing really close. So a lot of times people will say, "Well, go with whatever you have a dealership for, close to your home, and that way you have good service, and so it's closer to run for parts and everything." But in our case, everything is just far away, so that throws that one out. Um, there's also the other brands out there like Massey. We've seen a couple of them. There's of course New Holland, the New Holland tractors. There's Coyote, but don't really see a whole lot of them. Don't really know too much about them. Kubota's been a strong name in this area for years with the compact tractors. John Deere's a strong name around here because it's farm country. And Mahindra has really come on strong lately and has really gained a lot of market share. They're doing very well in this area. But, at this point, it's just about finding something for the right price with the right features or the right options. We definitely need a loader, a front end loader. We should have a backhoe, but I don't think that's going to happen just because of the ungodly price for those as well. Um, and then we'll add some other attachments for on the rear of the tractor, like maybe a 4-foot rototiller that would come in handy, box scraper. Hard to say what else we might get into, what else we might need. Oh, definitely forks. I'd like to have some forks for on the front. Whether it's the ones that clamp on the bucket or an actual like tow motor style where you have the backboard there, forks can slide back and forth on. Um, just for unloading some light skids, moving some light skids around. Nothing real heavy. Nothing that's gonna tip the tractor over or anything like that. We got to worry about. But it would be handy for that kind of stuff. So you know, I priced a couple Mahindras. I actually have a connection there. The sales rep for our area for Mahindra used to be my Husqvarna sales rep. So I have a good relationship with him, and I asked him about it. And no, I'm like, "Can you get me a good deal on a Mahindra?" And he's like, "You'd be lucky just to find one right now." Um, so then I said, "Well, what am I looking at price wise for whatever Mahindra model that I can put a loader on and a backhoe on, something small, get around the yard and everything." And I think he said that was without the mower deck too. It's like 18 to 19,000 dollars for a new one. Good lord! So we were looking at used ones, used everything, used Kubotas, used John Deere, used Mahindras, used Yanmars, and when I started looking at all this stuff, one of the things that I kept thinking about was one of my neighbors has one of the one of my neighbors has one of the Cub Cadet compact tractors. He's had it for years, and I remember when they first came out, they were pretty popular. You would see a lot of them out. Um, and I remember when they, were first talking about this, that there's going to be these Cub Cadet compact tractors, and everybody's just like, "Oh God, MTD is going to try to make a compact tractor." And then it turned out that it was actually being made by Mahindra. It was a deal between MTD and Mahindra to use the Cub Cadet name and all this stuff. Um, but I don't know where they all went. I know he still has his, and I see him use it from time to time, but I don't know where the other ones in the area went. You just don't see them. I don't remember them ever being for sale. So I would look for them, and just past this past weekend, here I found two of them that were for sale, and one was like a 2002 model and had a backhoe on it, and they still wanted like 16.9 for it with over 2,000 hours. You know, like, okay, we'll pass on that. So just kept looking and kept looking. John Deere's the same way. You price like a early 2000s, like a 755 the loader, and we're asking like 10 grand for one. And you start thinking, well, maybe we should just go back and look at the new ones then, because it's not going to be much more money. At least you get a warranty with it and stuff. And it wasn't just beaten to death and used and abused and worked harder than it should have been. And that's what we do with tractors like that have that kind of attachments on them. We like to just work them for all they got around here. So we're just up in the air about that. I'm not sure what we're going to do there yet. We're going to keep on shopping around, keep on looking to see what we can find. Um, but yeah, that's been a long search, and oh, excuse me. A few of them that we found here and there, like on Facebook Marketplace. If you've used Facebook Marketplace, that's either going to be really great and people are going to get back to you because they really want to sell the stuff, or it's going to be send a message, wait for them to see it. Several days later, they see it. Then a few days later, they respond to you, and you respond back and say, "Okay, well, where exactly is this? I'm interested." Then you wait several more days, and it's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. Why are you even bothering to put that stuff up for sale on there if you have no more ambition than that to try to sell it? But a couple other ones, we talked to the people about them, and just wasn't the right deal we were looking for. And then some other ones just they sold before we could get there to do anything, to drive them or look at them. I was even looking at some of the old John Deere stuff, like 3020s and 2010s and tractors like that with loaders on them, and I'm like, might be a little bit of overkill for in the yard. It's probably gonna tear some stuff up. And when I started this search, I was actually like, "Well, hey, look at this! Here's a whole backhoe for sale, like a John Deere 310." And yeah, that was when I was just trying to, jump the gun there and just get something for the sake of getting it because it was a good deal. When I'd see them, I'm like, "Hey, we can make this work." There's no way we were making that work. So the search will continue there. And if you have any feedback on any of these types of tractors, any brand whatsoever that you're familiar with that you've been using, or you're working at a dealership for them, or you know of another brand out there that you think might be good, be sure to leave us a comment on this video. Send us some kind of feedback on these tractors because any advice you have to offer is welcome. It's something that we're not around it enough to know what all's out there and what some of the options are for some of these units. Or like let's look at the old Kubotas. There's all kinds of models of old Kubotas out there. You don't know what's what. You'd have to sit down and research every single one. So if you know something good about them, or specific models, especially if you go back like 5 years or so, or 10 years from some of these brands, yeah, be sure to leave some comments here, because I'm sure we're not the only ones that are searching around for something like this and would find that information useful. Or you can send us an email at eshlemaniatv@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to hear whatever you guys have to say, or whatever you guys have to recommend as far as the compact tractors and the different attachments. One of the other things that I'm not sure about is like a backhoe attachment. I mean, that's not something we need right away, but it's something that's definitely going to be handy, and eventually we would like to have. But I don't know if it's better to go with the subframe mount version, or 3-point version that runs off the rear PTO. Um, you know, what do you guys think? Somebody's got to have experience out there with one of them or both of them, and have some input. I know it's probably different between different tractors as to which one's the better choice. But okay, let's say we're talking about the like the newer Mahindras or the newer Kubotas. Which way are you going to go there? Would you rather have one with the subframe backhoe attachment, or the 3-point backhoe attachment? The Cub Cadet compact tractors. You have any of them? Have you seen any of them? What happened to them? Uh, Yanmar's another one. Like I said, Yanmar was making those Cub Cadets, but I don't. I mean, at least in our area, we don't see any Yanmar compact tractors anymore. It's rare that you even hear anybody talk about them. The only thing you ever really hear about with Yanmar is just the engines, and they make some good running engines. Kubota makes some good running diesel engines. So yeah, that's why Kubota's still there, and Mahindra's there, because Mahindra uses the Yanmars too. John Deere uses some Yanmars, but uh, John Deere, again, if it's the right deal, I'm good with John Deere. But I'll be honest with you, I shy away from John Deere on stuff like that, because, well, the parts are just a little high for what they are sometimes when it comes to John Deere, just because of the name. And after working at a John Deere dealer, I know that well enough to say, if I don't really need a John Deere, I am not going to really have a John Deere. Unless there's something specific that I definitely want, and don't have any other option around it. So, but hey, if you have any kind of experience with the John Deere tractors, or can suggest some good ones, from the newer models here, we're willing to listen to it. We'll take it under advisement, and we'll look into them. Again, whatever information you got, pass it on along, and we'll definitely check it out. So other than that, which is that's all of our stuff we got going on that I can think of right away. That's been a just ongoing, ball that keeps snowballing there, of trying to get stuff done, trying to come up with ways to get stuff done faster, trying to get stuff done that's going to be less time consuming in the future to have to keep doing it. And one thing has just led to another, and here we are. That's why we got solar panels on a couple of outbuildings. That's why we got an Automower running off of solar. That's why we are trying to keep away from putting any more electrical wire in the ground. That's why we're shopping for a subcompact tractor, to try to make all this go faster and be easier to do. A couple other things we had going on here recently, but I think maybe we'll save them for another episode. This one here is getting pretty long. Um, we've been on the road a lot, so we got some stuff to talk about with that. Been down to Philly, out to Somerset, PA, down to Virginia. Oh boy, that was brutal. But yeah, we'll get into that next episode. We'll let some of that from our Virginia trip kind of die down a little bit, because don't want to go get my blood pressure up talking about the drivers down there and what I-95 is like when you get into Virginia. So I think that's going to do it for this episode here. Again, if you got any information or knowledge about the compact tractors, we'd greatly appreciate any of that you could pass on. And again, I'm sure that a lot of the people that watch these videos and read the comments, leave some comments there because they'd probably like to know some of this information as well. If you have any questions for us, you can leave a comment or you can send us an email to eshlemaniatv@gmail.com. You can also go onto our Facebook page, check it out. It's something where we post a lot of stuff that like pictures and that kind of stuff that we can't really just blast up on here real quick on the YouTube channel. But there's an option there. You can leave comments there. You could send us a message or whatever you got going on, and you know share your thoughts with us. Give us some feedback. That's how we do all this stuff. We try to appease you guys as best as possible because we appreciate all your input. We appreciate all your support, and we want to show that to you. So, I guess if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening.